Hello, everybody. How are you guys? I hope you guys are good. I hope you're having a great day or night, depending on where you are. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit more about the Idaho 4 case, about Brian Koberger, and about the two surviving roommates. And I want to take this time to remind people of some things because I know the longer you know, the more time that goes by and the longer a case is, the people tend to forget a lot about what first happened, what first came out, right? So we're gonna go back over some things, and then we're gonna look at some new things that are have just been released. Okay. So let's get started. I'm gonna ask you guys to do me a favor. Please hit that thumbs up button, and please click that subscribe button if you have not done so already. All right. So on November 13th, 2022, Xana, Ethan, Maddie, and Kaylee, four University of Idaho students, were killed in the home that they shared. Okay. Well, Ethan didn't live there, but he was there with his girlfriend, Xana. Now, I want to go back and take a look at this here. So this was written January 8th of 2023. Again, the murders took place on November 13th, 2022. So 2 months after the murders took place, this is what they knew so far. And this is why I'm reading this so you get the early facts, the things that we heard in the beginning, right? Okay, so police initially called it a targeted attack after weeks of investigations and at least 19,000 tips from the community. Brian Koberger, a 28-year-old PhD student of criminology at Washington State University, just 8 miles from the murder scene, was arrested as a primary suspect in late December. These tragic murders took four young, vibrant members from our community. This has been a difficult time for the families, the university, the Moscow community, and the people of Idaho. All right. Latah County Magistrate Judge Megan Marshall has issued a non-dissemination order in the case that prohibits law enforcement attorneys and others from communicating with the public or media about the case. Here is what we know so far. On the night of November 13th, two pairs of roommates who lived in the Moscow apartment where the murders occurred went out separately and arrived home shortly before 2 a.m. Kernodle and Chapin arrived home first, which they believe was around 1:45, followed by Kaylee and Maddie, according to the affidavit. Two other roommates who were not killed were also in the home at the time of the murders. Footage of the Moscow neighborhood shows that a white Hyundai Elantra was seen driving around the students' townhouse 3 times, beginning just before 3:30 a.m. Okay, so they believe that the murders took place between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. Okay, now Kernodle received a DoorDash delivery at 4 a.m. The same time, one of the surviving roommates, identified as Dylan in court documents, was woken up by what she said sounded like her roommate playing with her dog upstairs. At around 4:04 a.m., the Elantra made its fourth round around their home. Okay? So, here they are stating. Val, sorry. Here they are stating that at 4 a.m. was the DoorDash delivery guy. Okay? At that same time was when Dylan claimed in the beginning, this is what she claimed, that she was woke up by some noise. Okay. And at 4:04 in the morning, they say the Elantra drove around for the fourth time. Phone records show that Kernodle was on TikTok until 4:12 a.m., according to court documents. So it's now 4:12 and nothing has happened yet, right? According to court documents, sometimes after 4 a.m., crying could be heard from Kernodle's room, along with a male voice saying something along the lines of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you," according to Dylan. Court documents say a security camera from a nearby home captured audio of a whimper, a loud thud, and a dog barking. Dylan alleges that she opened her bedroom door once more and saw a man with bushy eyebrows, black clothes, and a mask covering their mouth and nose walk past her as she stood frozen in shock in the doorway to her room. He walked towards a sliding glass door in the home, and she then went into her room and locked the door. Now, this was her initial story, right? This was what she had been saying to police. At around 4:20 a.m., the Elantra is captured speeding away from the Moscow area, according to the affidavit. So, at 4:12, you have Xana on her phone. At 4:20, he is leaving the scene, according to them, right? Not very long at all, is it? Police did not arrive on scene until noon that day after a 911 call was made to report an unconscious person. They found 4 people dead of stab wounds in 2 separate rooms in the house. Now, again, so at first, Dylan said she was home asleep. Why is she lying, right? Why is she lying right off the bat? She said she was woken up at 4 a.m. But now that we have her text messages, we know that she was not sleeping. So I don't understand why people are like, "Oh, don't question them. Don't question them, don't." Why? She lied right out of the gate. After the murders, police initially said they did not believe there was an ongoing risk to the community, but just 3 days later, on November 16th, Chief James Fry changed previous assurances and said, "We cannot say that there is no threat to the community." Although police had previously said the attack was targeted, they later said they were not sure whether it was. Authorities engaged in a national effort to find and arrest a suspect in the case. In the meantime, police say Kohberger left Idaho for his Pennsylvania family home. The Pennsylvania State Police SWAT team broke down the door and windows to his home in a dynamic entry on December 30th, formally arresting and charging him with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary. These murders have shaken our community, and I know that no arrest will restore the families or bring these young students back. However, we believe in the criminal process and continue to extend our most sincere condolences to the families, said the police chief. Since November, investigators have been laser focused on pursuing every lead in our pursuit of justice. It was persistent determination and extensive hours spent unraveling this case that led to an arrest. Now, because of the gruesomeness, because of the level of the killings, these police had an exorbitant amount of pressure on them to arrest someone. They had to. They had so much pressure on them to freaking arrest someone for this. In the days leading up to Kohberger's arrest, law enforcement sources say a surveillance team was instructed to watch the suspect's movements and told to find an object with DNA that could connect Kohberger to the crime scene. Investigators previously found a leather knife sheath on the bed next to next to Maddie and Kaylee with DNA that they say is Kohberger's. Police narrowed in on Kohberger after they brought in the search for the white Elantra that had been seen on surveillance footage. Which, again, in the beginning, this is what they said. They said, "We're looking for a white Hyundai Elantra." I don't remember the exact years, but it was like between 2011 and 2016 or something like that. Like, there was a lot of difference. Now, if they were looking for this car based off surveillance footage, they should have had the exact year of the vehicle. They were able to find one matching the description at a Washington State University that was registered to Kohberger, according to an affidavit. Authorities also said that a surviving roommate had said that Kohberger matched the description of who they had seen in the home on November 13th. Phone records also placed Kohberger in Moscow at 4:48 a.m., according to the affidavit. Agents say that prior to his arrest, Koberger was seen wearing surgical gloves outside multiple times and had deeply cleaned the inside and outside of his car. Koberger also went on a cross-country trip with his father, and by the end of December, he was back in their Pennsylvania home. It was there that authorities obtained DNA from garbage outside the home and identified that a sample collected was the father of the person whose DNA had been left on the sheath found at the scene. Koberger was initially held without bond before being extradited from Pennsylvania to Idaho on January 4th. Public defender Jason LaBar has said that Koberger was surprised by his arrest and looks forward to being exonerated. Go play now, Nala. Go. LaBar also shared a statement on behalf of Koberger's family. First and foremost, we care deeply for the 4 families who have lost their precious children. There are no words that can adequately express the sadness we feel, and we pray each day for them, they said. We will continue to let the legal process unfold, and as a family, we will love and support our son and brother. Authorities have not identified a motive in the killings or identified whether Koberger had a connection to any of the victims. Their murder weapon has also not been located. The next preliminary hearing in the case is blah, blah, blah. Okay. Then it just goes on to talk about scholarships that were made in their names. Okay. So you have Dylan, who lied right out of the gate. She said she was asleep. She said she was awoke by, noises, whatever. And she peeked out of her doorway. The first time she opened the door, she heard laughter or crying, and she heard, then the next time she opened the door, she heard a man say, "I'm going to help you." And then the third time she opened the door, she just saw him standing there, right? Standing in the hallway. Which is clearly a lie. All of that has been a lie. She was not sleeping. She was literally texting on the phone, doing a bunch of different things while this was all going down. And why people think we should not be suspicious of that is beyond me. But again, so at 4:12, at 4 o'clock, they have the DoorDash order. At 4:12, Xana's still on her phone. At 4:20, he's like, they say that he allegedly is fleeing the scene, but at 4:48, he's still in Moscow. Okay, that's the story. Now, okay, now this is Newsweek, and this was published November 13th, 2023, so a year after the murders took place. What Bethany has revealed. Funk was staying in the basement of the house at the time of the murders and allegedly did not witness the attack on her roommates. According to a probable cause affidavit, both Funk and Mortensen were inside the King Road residence at the time of the homicides and were roommates to the victims. Funk had also seen Chapin and Kernodle at a fraternity house for several hours late November 12th into the early morning hours of November 13th. Funk met with Koberger's defense team earlier this year in Nevada after the lawyers attempted to subpoena her to attend a preliminary hearing in Idaho to testify, as she had information unique to her that was exculpatory to the defendant. Funk told police that Ethan and Xana returned home at about 1:45 a.m. She also told police that Ethan didn't live at the house and that their other roommates returned home at around 2 a.m. and were asleep or in their rooms by 4 a.m. Now, what did Dylan reveal? Dylan has told police the most descriptive information. Since she encountered the suspected killer on his way out of the house, Mortensen opened her bedroom door on the second floor of the house several times shortly after 4 a.m. Mortensen told police that she was awoken by what she thought was Kaylee playing with her dog in one of the third floor bedrooms. Later on, Mortensen said she thought she heard Kaylee say something along the lines of, "There's someone here." Mortensen peeked out of her bedroom again when she thought she heard crying from Kernodle's room and a male voice saying something sounding like, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." When Mortensen opened her door a third time, she saw a male figure clad in black clothing and wearing a mask over his mouth and nose. Mortensen told police that she stood in a frozen shock phase as the figure walked past her and out the sliding door that allowed access to the second and third floor bedrooms. She described the man as having bushy eyebrows. Mortensen also told investigators that she heard Kaylee's dog barking throughout the night. Former FBI agent Jennifer Kofendaffer, who is not connected to the case, told Newsweek that Mortensen's information was important to the investigation. Mortensen dialed down all those questions, one perpetrator, a male perpetrator, and gave a general description matching Brian Kohberger. You know what she didn't see, though? You know this is crazy to me. You know what she did? So he just gets done, right? He's killed 4 people, slaughtered 4 people. I mean, there was so much blood in the apartment, it was dripping on the outside of the walls. But she doesn't see any blood on him, right? And she doesn't see the K-bar knife in his hand. He couldn't, what do you do? He couldn't have put it in his pocket without the sheath, right? So she just sees this man, and not for nothing, but if he had just slaughtered 4 people, okay, in a very short period of time, he's not covered in blood. There's not blood dripping off him into the hallway. There's no knife in his hand. But let's say if he did do that, why wouldn't he have stabbed her or killed her on his way out since she was standing right in front of him, right? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. But now we know she was lying. So let's take a look at this. All right. Well, I'm not going to go over all of these text messages again, but I will say this. From 2:10 in the morning up until 11:56 when 911 gets called, Dylan and Bethany are going back and forth. They are texting. They've texted their mom, their dad. They have talked to each other. They've been in and out of Snapchat. They were on Instagram. They were on Indeed. They were on TikTok. They were doing all of these things, none of which were dialing 911. All of these things happened. Well, Dylan claimed that she was sleeping. Clearly, that is not the case. Now, from Dylan to go up, because her bedroom was on the second floor. So on the main level, I mean. Now, I don't really say the second floor. It's the main level. Bethany's bedroom was in the basement. So Dylan left her bedroom, went downstairs into Bethany's room, and the two spent the rest of the time Snapchatting, talking to people, texting people, being on Instagram, being on TikTok, yada, yada, yada. None of which shows any signs of being scared, being freaked out, being worried. Nothing. None of it. At 11:56, 911 gets called. Hours and hours and hours. Oh, and for the last between 11:49 and 11:55, I'm sorry. Both Bethany and Dylan are texting back and forth with a JM. Clearly, nobody was in a hurry to call the police. Nobody was in a hurry. And if they were, I mean, they were taking pictures. They were Snapchatting. If they both talked to their parents. And their parents didn't call 911. The parents didn't do anything either. So what was really going on? And what is up? I mean, this is just my opinion, but I don't trust Dylan as far as I could throw her. She has lied right from the very beginning of this case. Lies. There's no changing that. There is no denying that. And for people to sit there and say, oh my God, she's a kid. Imagine how frightened she was. Well, she wasn't too frightened because she was on Indeed. She was on freaking Instagram. She was on Snapchat. She was doing all these things. None of which were helping her friends upstairs. Moving on. All right. This is a video that I was looking for earlier that I talked about in a post. Now, there's 5 men. Okay. They come walking out of the house. They get into a van. They've all got black latex gloves on. One guy, the guy with the cowboy hat, has a black card with what looks like, it looks like goldish type of writing on it, but I can't make out what it is. But nobody knows who they are. Nobody knows what agency they work for. Nobody knows nothing. And clearly, they did not want to be on camera. They wanted to hide who they were for whatever reason. They've all got hats on, hoods on. They didn't want to be seen. They didn't want to talk to anybody. Now, again, a lot of people assume, like this lady assumed they were investigators because they walked into the house. But we'll go over more in a minute. But it is very, very weird that this was never addressed. And they get into a van with Washington State plates on it.
Can you tell us why you're back inside? Can you tell us why we're back inside tonight? Is there anything you can tell us?
Now, this guy, so it looks like he's got his wallet in this pocket, his phone in this pocket, but he's got something big in his front pockets.
Can you tell us why we're back inside tonight? Is there anything you can tell us?
Okay, now let me play the bigger of that clip.
Less than an hour ago, we were here, and about 5 plainclothes investigators, we don't know if they're local, state, federal, they were inside. And
nobody even knows if they're investigators, but she's assuming that they are because they had access to the house. But to this day, nobody has ever talked about this right here. Nobody has ever talked about who they are, what agency they belong to, or what the hell they were doing there.
We were here, and about 5 plainclothes investigators, we don't know if they're local, state, federal, they were inside, and we saw a lot of activity inside the home, and the home was lit up. So we were able to peek in some of the windows, but we saw those men inside the home in the 2 particular rooms where the murders took place.
And again, they were in there for an hour. They were in there for an hour. They didn't bring anything out of the home with them, but they all had black latex gloves on. Did they take something into the home? What were they doing there? Was whatever they took out or brought in it so small it could have been hidden in jacket pockets or something like that?
We did not see them leaving with any materials. I asked them a couple of times, why are they back? They did not answer me. They pulled away in two vehicles. One had a Washington state plate, the other had an Idaho plate. But that is all we can tell you. But we did see a lot of activity. This house was lit up for nearly an hour. They were inside. We don't know why. Nothing seemed to be removed. But as you know, Ashley, yesterday, a lot of the kids' belongings were removed by Moscow police to be returned to their families.
So I'm just watching these guys as they're walking by you. Were you asking them questions and were they effectively just ignoring you? Did they say hello? Did they say anything at all?
Not a peep. And I asked them specifically, why are you here tonight? Why are you here tonight? They did not acknowledge me. So certainly they were on a mission and they left without saying a word.
So Nancy, I just want to point out the video that we're seeing right now. Let's blow this up full because, and let's replay that if we can too. This is the investigators walking out of the kitchen area into a hallway and then walking towards the living room. So there they are. It looks like they're emerging from the kitchen area, walking towards the front of the house. That grassy sign that's on the wall right there, that's the good vibes sign. Mm-hmm. There's actually two of those signs in the house. It's very confusing. There's a good vibes sign that was lit up in Kaylee Gonsalves's room. And there's also that same grassy good vibes sign right down there that faces the front in the living room. So they're walking out of the kitchen area and walking towards the front of the house in the living room on the second floor there. But that's the first time, Nancy, that we've actually been able to see them at work inside the house.
Right. And looking inside, we did see, so many signs of a typical college life, the items that we saw, red Solo cups, we saw a beer bottle, and there you see the window with the shades drawn, but you see the shadows of them working in that room. But yeah, they were inside. They seemed to be targeted in where they were going and what they were doing, and then they left without a word. Even though I tried to get some comments out of them.
Yeah, it's curious about the kitchen because we're still trying to get confirmation as to whether, the killer entered through that back kitchen sliding door. But, listen, that on a crime scene, they're going to look at every inch of that house. I am interested when you said that there was a Washington plate, because the very first thing I thought of when I saw those guys is they don't look local necessarily. And I don't say that because they don't look like they're from Idaho. It just looks like they're moving in a particularly specific way.
Yeah.
And this late in the game, it just screams FBI to me, and maybe an FBI field office that's partially from Washington, maybe an FBI field office from the Idaho area. Did you ask if they were from FBI or what jurisdiction? And they just said, nothing to see here?
Yeah, they would not. They would give me nothing. And I did call Moscow police, no answer, no response. So no explanation for any of this, but they were clearly inside on a mission.
I mean, 25 days of processing a crime scene, to me, it's something I haven't really seen, unless it's, a massive school shooting. That could take 25 days because there's
25 days later. This was 25 days later. These men walk into the house. They're in there for about an hour doing whatever with their latex gloves on. And then they come out and they're all still wearing their gloves. Like, they didn't leave them. They didn't throw them away. They walked by 2 trash cans. They didn't throw them away. They needed to take those gloves with them for whatever reason.
It's just so many victims and so much.
And nobody still knows who the hell these people were. That is so odd to me. All right, now moving on. This is the clip I was looking for last time. Full surveillance video appears to show Kaylee and Maddie walking in downtown Moscow Idaho, hours before murders. In the video, you hear, Maddie, what did you say to Adam? I told him everything.
What did you say to Adam? I told him everything.
Right there. Okay, that's where you hear. I forget who this guy is, but that's where you hear. He says right here, They're gonna get you. Okay, I thought it was at the end, but no, he said it at the beginning. He says they're gonna get you, and she says, Maddie, what did you say to Adam? And she said, I told Adam everything.
What did you say to Adam? I told him everything.
Now they were at a bar, like a regular, like regular spot for these college kids. They were at this bar, and I know a lot of people. Again, you forget so much stuff that happens in the beginning when a case is dragged out like this and it takes so long. That there was a police officer in that bar with them, like not far from them, the whole time they were in there. So, I mean, it's very strange. It's very strange that it doesn't seem like they looked at any other possibilities of what could have happened to these kids, like who was responsible for doing this. They laser focused in on BK. And yes, they were under this enormous amount of pressure to get a suspect, to arrest a suspect, to charge a suspect, right? I understand that. Like, this was crazy. Nobody had ever seen anything like this. But what about all of these other things? It just doesn't add up to me. Now, I know there's so much talk about this K-bar knife, right? The sheath that was found that had a smear of DNA of Brian's, right? There is, at the University of Idaho, they have an ROTC program. For those of you who don't know what an ROTC program is, look it up. But K-bar knives are very, very, very common used in ROTC programs. So I'm sure there was a lot of people around the area that actually owned K-bar knives. Like this right here. Where is it? It was not. Oh my God. I was just looking at the picture. All right. Well, I had it saved and I just went to go pull it up, and it's gone now. It says it has been removed, but it was, if you remember, it was Sigma Chi. It was the fraternity there, and the account was DEDLY, and they had like these old knights helmets on, and the guy standing in the back was holding a K-bar, right? And it said something about like, take out the biggest threat in the room first. Now that was posted from Ethan's fraternity members account. So listen, this is what I'm saying. I'm saying there's a lot of other things out there that I don't think were taken into the account, right? But yeah, it's funny that I looked at that how many times today, and all of a sudden now it's gone. But again, the account was DEDLY, and it was on Instagram, and it was from Ethan's fraternity. So now let's move on. Okay, now this was Dylan. Dylan testified she opened her door and heard a man's voice say, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." And I didn't know who the man's voice was. DM testified she opened her door again and saw a figure in all black, which I believe was a person. Now, these are her words. "I knew the person was white. I don't know how, but I just knew it. I knew it was a male. I think I knew that because of the voice. The person was around my height or a few inches taller. And then I knew his build wasn't like scrawny and he wasn't fat, so I figured it was like the basketball toned, leaned build. Regarding what the person was wearing," DM testified, "there was like, from what I think I remember, it was like a black mask, almost like a ski mask, but not. It just like covered the head and then maybe up to the mouth, maybe more. I can't remember if it covered just the chin, the mouth, or the nose, or lower." DM testified the clothing was all black. And she also testified, "Well, the thing I can really remember was something about a bushy eyebrow. I don't remember seeing anything else, just something about a bushy eyebrow." This is what I'm saying. I don't know how they're going to win the case based off this chick's testimony and based off what this chick is. I mean, she's already lied multiple times. She states right here herself that it seems she's not very clear on what she saw at all. "I couldn't see any of his hair, but I remember just like seeing like it was like almost rectangular, like not the circle ones." This was regarding the ski mask. "It was rectangular because I remember seeing like, just like, I don't know how to explain it. Just seeing like this. Maybe I'd be able to see like a cross, but I don't remember seeing his eyes. But I feel like his eyes were there. Wow. I could just see like an eyebrow. I feel like that's how I know he saw me, because I could see his eyebrow. Like if I can see his eyebrow, he can see me." She can see his eyebrow, but she just says, "I don't remember seeing his eyes." DM reiterated, "From what I remember, I think he was like just like walking past that little wall and going towards the kitchen. And I don't know, like I just remember seeing an eyebrow. I don't know why, I just see one. It was just like one bushy eyebrow. I don't remember the color, like the full shape. I just remember it being bushy." She described his clothing again, stating the male was wearing black long sleeves, black pants, and black boots. Detective Gooch asked Dylan if she knew what a balaclava was and showed her a picture. In response, and addressing whether she could see the male's mouth. "No, and I don't remember if I saw it. Like I don't remember if I saw his nose, but I know I saw eyebrows, and I don't remember his eyes. I just feel like I can see eyebrows, but I mean, that could be it. I mean, that would make sense why the forehead was covered and this part of his face was covered." The investigators inquired if Dylan could provide a composite And Dylan responded, no, I don't remember what his eyes looked like. I don't remember what his nose looked like. I just remember eyebrows. I don't know exactly what the eyebrows looked like at all, really. I just remember thinking like eyebrows. Yeah, bushy, but that's all. Like, I don't remember the shape. I don't remember the color. I just remember bushy eyebrows. That's the only thing I can remember. Someone cause it from my mind. It's like I was almost wearing these like blurry glasses, like it's fuzzy and cloudy, but it was like a figure of someone wearing all black. And it was like they had a ski mask that was covering their forehead and their chin and mouth. But I could see the eye. All I remember was seeing their eyebrows. And I don't remember what their eyes looked like, but I remember their eyebrows. I don't remember the color the eyebrows were. I just remember like bushy eyebrows. That's all I could think about. Wow. Wow. Now, again, I'm not trying to be, whatever, but that's not a good witness. That it's clearly not. But the point here is she lied from the very beginning. Her story has changed at least 3 times. We now, I don't understand why us questioning or calling these kinds of things out is wrong or bad in any way. I mean, yes, whoever did the murders needs to be needs to be arrested and spend the rest of their life in prison. Yes. But you want it to be the right person. Now, again, I'm not saying he didn't do it. I'm saying that there's clearly other things going on and it doesn't even look like cops took an interest in any of these things. Now, the 911 call, okay, we've gone over the transcript of the 911 call. 911 was called at noon that day, at noon. Now, we know that the 2 surviving roommates were up talking to multiple people, doing lots of things on their phones, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok. They were on Indeed. Like, again, all these things, they talked to multiple people during this time. They called at noon. They called 911. Now, cops said when cops got there, they could immediately, as soon as you walked in the house had this horrendous smell. It was awful. But the 911 call was made only claiming an unconscious person. They claimed that Xana was unconscious and that she had drank the night before and that she was unresponsive. She was just not waking up. No mention of the horrific scene that had taken place there. No mention during this time of any of the things that have come out since then. No mention that she saw this person. No mention of anything. She was sleeping and she was frozen in this state until she wasn't. And then she was able to call 911 after calling people first and having them come over to the home. Then 911 got called. And again, no mention of the blood, no mention of anything at all. So what are people supposed to think? Why are we wrong for questioning anything? Why are we wrong for saying something about this just does not seem right? Well, let me hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. I love you guys. Stay strong, stay healthy, stay safe. Keep asking those hard questions, keep spreading that light, and I'll see you all next time.